Google and Apple have made it official, and Google will power the next generation of Apple's AI, and specifically Siri. Welcome back to the AI Daily Brief. One of the things to know about this show is that given how fast-moving this industry is, it is very often the case that I make last-minute pivots to change what I'm covering on any given show. Today, I was fully planning on covering Anthropic's new Claude coworker, basically Claude Code, but for everything that's not code. Given how much Claude Code has been on people's minds for non-Claude Code use cases, after I got a little advance notice that this was coming, it seemed like a very obvious focus. As it turns out, I just wanted to do it a little bit more in depth than I would have been able to this afternoon after it was announced. And so instead we're pivoting, and we're going to stay on the same theme that we started in the headlines, which is the competition and jockeying for position among the big players. Now, if the jockeying and competition that we heard about in the first part of the episode in the headlines was little skirmishes, the news that we're talking about in the main episode is the big stuff. And the main story is that after a decade of complaining and internet memes, and even Larry David yelling at Siri, swearing at it and smashing it against his car in utter frustration in one of the most relatable moments of Curb Your Enthusiasm, Apple is finally going to fix Siri. And more broadly, it seems maybe take AI seriously, and they're going to do so with Google as their partner. Now, this has been rumored for a while, but it became official today. The companies released a short 2-paragraph joint statement in which they said, Apple and Google have entered into a multi-year collaboration under which the next generation of Apple Foundation models will be based on Google's Gemini models and cloud technology. These models will help power future Apple Intelligence features, including a more personalized Siri coming this year. After careful evaluation, Apple determined that Google's AI technology provides the most capable foundation for Apple Foundation models and is excited about the innovative experiences it will unlock for Apple users. Apple Intelligence will continue to run on Apple devices and private cloud compute while maintaining Apple's industry-leading privacy standards. Reuters called it a major win for Alphabet, writing that the deal marks a major vote of confidence for them. As they point out, while Google's technology already drives much of Samsung's Galaxy AI, the Siri deal unlocks a large market with Apple's install base of more than 2 billion active devices. The saga of Siri has been a long one. As The Verge wrote, Apple spent most of the past year working on an AI-upgraded version of Siri, but just couldn't get it there. Now, as part of those efforts, Bloomberg reported that Apple also considered using a custom version of Gemini for AI-powered features in Siri. And of course, along the way, we got a big shakeup in Apple's AI team. Specifically, their head of AI, John Giannandrea, stepped down last month, paving the way for this big news to kick off the year. Now, for many, the focus on the news was as much about what it said negatively about OpenAI as much as it did say positively about Google. Reuters quoted Parth Talsania, the CEO of Equisites Research, who said, Apple's decision to use Google's Gemini models for Siri shifts OpenAI into a more supporting role, with ChatGPT remain positioned for complex opt-in queries rather than the default intelligence layer. The Verge reports that Apple had also explored working with Anthropic and Perplexity, and Apple has always said that they plan to launch more integrations with more AI companies over time. Yu-Chen Jin thought the deal made sense, writing, Gemini leads in multimodality, and OpenAI's device and personalized ChatGPT are direct competitors of Apple. Benjamin DeCracker says, OpenAI does seem very Apple-coded. Google obviously does not. Polar opposites, really. So how did OpenAI blow the Apple deal so badly? Yet others think it's the fact that OpenAI is a little bit too close to Apple for comfort that made this deal happen the way that it did. Robert Scoble writes, this makes sense because OpenAI is trying to become a products company. In other words, OpenAI is going after Apple, and it would make no sense for Apple to help a new competitor. In a longer post, he expanded on those thoughts. He wrote, OpenAI is making a variety of new products and going after Apple. Apple didn't want to give OpenAI any more data to help a potential new competitor. The real problem for this OpenAI effort is that we're about to move to glasses. People don't believe me that we're about to move to glasses, but you should because I just got back from CES and there was a ton of glasses there. For OpenAI to really get somewhere, they need to add a camera to an earphone. While I don't see that in this latest report, I wouldn't be shocked to see a camera show up somewhere eventually. It's cameras that add understanding of the real world, which can lead to many new features that Apple's current AirPods can't match. I believe Apple is developing such a product to go with their glasses, which makes a lot of sense. Also, Google's AI models are better at multimodality. This means they can use cameras in a much better way than even OpenAI's models can. This is why in Silicon Valley robotics companies, a lot of them use Google Gemini, because robots need multimodality. Apple's glasses, which are expected in 2027, have some significant advantages over the others. First, they have eye sensors in them so it knows where the user is looking. It can also tell what the user is touching, holding, or gesturing towards. This new capability will give Siri a significant parlor trick. It will let Siri answer questions that no other search engine has been able to answer before. And he goes on from that, and basically the whole argument amounts to the fact that as AI becomes embodied, OpenAI and Apple are just on an absolute collision course that makes a collaboration extremely difficult. Certainly, the fact that OpenAI went and tapped a huge number of Apple staffers, most notably Johnny Ive, shows that there is some similar DNA in the companies that may well amount for why they were too close to make it work. Now, another dimension of the conversation is about the privacy dimension. Max Weinbach writes, "Remember, this is Gemini technology, but as they said, it still runs on private cloud compute. That means Apple silicon and Apple's hardware, not Google. Google is just licensing the technology to Apple." Yuchen Jin also does note, however, that he doesn't think that a future Apple-only model is a foregone conclusion. He writes, "I don't think Apple is giving up building its own foundation models. They've spent billions on GPUs, hired many AI researchers, and have the iPhone as a massive distribution channel. Once they've collected enough data via the new Gemini-powered Siri, switching to Apple's own models is always an option." Now, for others outside the privacy question, there was a competitiveness question. Vrasser X writes, "This is deeply concerning. Google has long pushed towards monopoly power, and in search, they effectively already are. With Android, Chrome, and now Apple's foundation models, this concentration of power demands serious antitrust scrutiny." Elon Musk agreed, responding to the news from Google post on X where he wrote, "This seems like an unreasonable concentration of power for Google given that it also has Android and Chrome." Lee Hepner writes, "How is this different than Google wrapping search, data, and underlying models in Apple's Safari browser? Didn't the Justice Department just win a historic antitrust trial about this?" Still, mostly people are just looking at this as a huge win for Google. Prinz writes, "This seems to imply that Apple has agreed not to use its own foundation models in its ecosystem for the next few years. What a disaster if true." Although, as Dan McAteer writes, "Loving this as an iPhone owner. Can't wait to get actually good Siri." Tim Halderson writes, "Apple giving up in the AI race and giving Google a massive distribution advantage." Jim Cramer summed up the market's feelings when he wrote, "The Apple-Google partnership is very strong. Google pays little and Siri gets better. Both stocks should be higher." Jim is frequently known as something of a countersignal, but in this case, I think he's right. And I think it is just one more piece of evidence supporting my and many other people's prediction that at some point in 2026, before the year is done, Alphabet will be the biggest company by market cap on the planet. Josh Woodward of Google did also note that Nano Banana Pro has now crossed 1 billion images created in Gemini app in just 53 days of the model being out. That's pretty cool, but given that about 900 million of those were me, I was a little bit less impressed. Now, if the Google-Apple news was the biggest in some ways, there was also still some very big news out of Meta as well. First of all, they announced that they were expanding their nuclear strategy with 3 new power deals. Vistra has contracted to supply capacity from their existing power plants, while small nuclear reactor startups Oklo and TerraPower have signed agreements to build multiple reactors. The Vistra deal is expected to deliver 2.1 gigawatts of power from a pair of plants in Ohio, where Meta is building their Prometheus supercluster. And overall, the 3 deals are expected to deliver 6.6 gigawatts for Meta's data centers by 2035. At the moment, most of the large data center projects are 1 gigawatt scale, so these deals set Meta up to significantly expand their footprint. The new deal adds to Meta's 2025 agreement with Constellation Energy to extend the life of an Illinois power plant. Meta's Chief Global Affairs Officer Joel Kaplan called the deals one of the most significant corporate purchasers of nuclear energy in American history. He added, "State-of-the-art data centers and AI infrastructure are essential to securing America's position as a global leader in AI." Meta was also careful to address the growing negative sentiment around data centers driving up the cost of electricity, saying that they will, quote, "pay the full costs for energy used by our data centers so consumers don't bear these expenses." Patient Investor writes, "My opinion, this is big tech telling the market they want firm power for the next decade, not just more chips." Abu writes, "We're shifting from compute constrained to energy constrained. If you don't control the power, you don't control the model." And that got us to our second announcement from Meta. Earlier on Monday, Zuck posted, "Today we're establishing a new top-level initiative called Meta Compute. Meta is planning to build tens of gigawatts this decade and hundreds of gigawatts or more over time. How we engineer, invest, and partner to build this infrastructure will become a strategic advantage. The effort will be led by Santosh Janardhan and Daniel Gross. Santosh will continue to lead our technical architecture, software stack, silicon program, developer productivity, and building and operating our global data center fleet and network. Daniel will lead a new group responsible for long-term capacity strategy, supplier partnerships, industry analysis, planning, and business modeling. They will work closely with Dina Powell-McCormick, who just joined Meta as president and vice chairman, to work on partnering with governments and sovereigns to build, deploy, invest in, and finance Meta's infrastructure." In their Why It Matters section, Axios wrote, "The announcement, coming shortly after the firm named prominent banking executive and former Republican official Dina Powell-McCormick as president, suggests Zuckerberg sees Meta's ability to build out AI infrastructure as a strategic long-term advantage over its big tech peers." Writes Amit, So Zuck's going after GCP, AWS, and Azure now? Makes sense, all this extra compute, can easily monetize it with the seeming unrelenting demand. Meta becomes a cloud play? We'll have to see if that's exactly how it plays out, but it certainly seems like the big cloud providers just got a new player in the space. So, like I said, quite a bit of strategic repositioning on this Monday. For now, that is going to do it for today's AI Daily Brief. Like I said, tomorrow we will dive deep into the new Claude Cowork product, which again is Claude code for everything that's not code, and I am super excited for that. For now, I appreciate you listening or watching as always, and until next time, peace